Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. Today we are five pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. November is here, and Adam is in a Bojangles parking lot. Adam, what's going on in Richmond today?
It's a beautiful day. It's always bow time. Happy to be with you, man.
Nice. Dad, coming out of my grandmother's porch in Nashville.
Oh, it's outside. There's no place better to be outside in the fall day.
Nice. John, coming from Roanoke today. How are you, John?
Doing great, man. Watching leaves fall. It's a good time of year.
Nice. Paul and I are coming from the beautiful hills of North Georgia, where Paul's Miami Hurricanes are still undefeated.
Yes, sir. And on top of that, they're number 4, which is awesome.
I feel like Paul went shopping in the last 6 months because he has all this new Miami apparel I've never seen.
It's because you're never on the show,
Miami
Adam.
apparel.
That's why.
Dude jumped in.
They're over there fishing, bro.
He said, Dad, I need a couple of shirts.
Dad, he said that. No, hey, I've been blessed by a guy by the name of Art Silva, and every year he's a huge Miami fan, and every year he drops some gear, man, and I love it. So I wear it. I have about 7 shirts now, which is fantastic.
Ooh, all right.
All right.
That's
So
where it
here's
came
what
from.
we're going to do. We're going to switch up our order a little bit today, and I'm going to pass it to Adam since we have him as our special guest today. And he is going to share.
Welcome, Adam. Welcome, Adam.
Let's
We
do
love
this.
you.
Let's share it
You're
around the
valued.
horn. And today sports is such a wide topic. Here's the question, and we'll put this out on social and see what everybody says because I want to hear y'all's thoughts. Adam, I'm going to start it off with you. Give an overview first. We're going to talk about our most memorable sports moment in your life. Now, my dad's pretty old, so that's a lot of sports moments to go through.
Wow,
But Adam, I'm going to start
just-
it with you, and then I'm going to pass it around the horn. Your most memorable, like your best sports moment of your life. We're going to talk about that. Also, as we record this, we record it the day before the election. And I know there's this growing anticipation, like we're just ready to get through it. And so we're going to kind of go inside of it a little bit, not really get political, but talk about some of it from a leadership perspective. And then we're going to talk about our spouses in ministry. And Paul's got a really good question for us. And so we'll just kind of take it around the horn, switch our flow up today. So Adam, I'm going to pass it to you first, and then I'll come to John after that. If you think back through your Rolodex of sports memory moments, what comes to mind?
All right, that is a very, very difficult question because for my entire life, I have avidly watched sports. And so if I had to just pick one that is kind of burned into my head, it's probably from my childhood, and it's probably Michael Jordan crying on the floor on Father's Day, the Father's Day after his dad had been tragically murdered. With that trophy. And by this time, he was already cemented as one of the all-time greats and a legend. But anyone who grew up in the 90s just knows, and I'm not a Chicago Bulls fan, but when that song came on before a Bulls game, that intensity and the fact that you knew the world was watching, and then just the build up to that moment and just to watch his emotions come out, and to see him be human in probably a very rare way was just something I'll never forget. Even though I was, I think, maybe 7 or 8 years old.
Michael on Father's Day. John, what comes to mind for you?
Man, it's really hard. There's a lot of different opportunities to talk about. I think one that is historic, so I think it matters, is when the Sox came back on the Yankees down 0-3. Never been done since, never done prior. Ended like an 86-year drought. And I think, man, I remember watching the games, and I was just like 2004. So I was in early 20s there. I had a little extra free time than I do now. Could stay up a little later than I do now. But nonetheless, historic moment. You just the momentum, the energy. I mean, just an epic duel right there. So one of mine. Sorry, Paul.
That's a good one, John. As you were saying that, Paul was a Yankees fan back then. One topic we should talk about is heartbreak, like what sports heartbreak moments. That's where my mind took me. So we'll save that for another day. Dad, Got a long list. What comes to mind for you?
Hey, it only looks like one of y'all have lived that many years, and I don't want to name names.
You got more hair than me.
Two come to mind. I only talked about one. Uh, the Dream Team was a magical moment, and so I really enjoyed that. But the one game that always sticks out whenever I think about these things is when Texas beat USC in the Rose Bowl. That for some reason that has been burned in my my mind and my heart, probably because I could not stand USC. California team going for 2 in a row, invincible, the best of the best. And you had this Texas team, even though they both were undefeated. And that's what made it so great. Both undefeated, coming in, colliding. You knew it was going to be a great game, though nobody was picking Texas. And the way that they won and came back and what Vince Young did, that was just one of those moments. And I just remember being so excited and thinking that they were going to lose. They come back and win, and Vince had it moment. And that was one of the greatest games of all time. I loved every minute of it.
And if you think of that team, though, I mean, you had Reggie Bush and the hype around
Loaded.
Pete Carroll. And remember when USC played Notre Dame with Brady, and they grew the grass out, and then they pushed Reggie across the end zone, and that was like a controversial thing. That was actually mine. So you took mine there. I'll give another one in a minute. Paul, what comes to mind for you?
So, man, I had to dust this thing off. So mine is live. It's a live, memorable event. So right here in front of me are 2 World Series tickets. One of them from '97 and the other one from October 22nd, 2003. And I got a chance to see Roger Clemens in his last season with the Yankees throw against what was the Florida Marlins at that time. So I got a chance to see both teams that I grew up admiring, that's for sure. But it was awesome. It was probably one of the most electric evenings because back then when you had flash photography, I had never seen, and it was called Joe Robbie Stadium at the time, still, I think, or it might have been, I can't remember what they may have changed it to, but nonetheless, I had never seen that many flashes go off at the same time as Roger Clemens is pitching that night on the bump. But that was probably the most memorable sports moment that I got a chance to just soak in as I'm over in left field on the lower deck watching the World Series with the Yankees and the Marlins. It was pretty cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
Hey, Joseph, while you're thinking about yours, I got one more.
All right.
When the Road Warriors beat Nikita Koloff and Nikita Koloff and Ivan Koloff.
Bring in the sport. Bring in the wrestling, baby.
Oh, man, that was so good. That was a moment. I had to throw that in there.
Bring it in.
I had no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, man. That's for all you oldies out there, you old pastors out there. You know what I'm talking about, the Road Warriors.
Yeah.
The Road Warriors.
So what about when Ric Flair defended his title for
Yeah.
Ric Flair, dude.
Yeah,
how
Sting?
How about Mankind and The Undertaker, that crazy cage thing that they had going on, bro?
That was wild.
Bro. Dude, that was nuts, man. I'm pretty sure he almost died. Like, that was insane.
Listen, you know us for Josky men love our wrestling, man.
What was that called? Hell in a Cell? Is that what it was called?
Yes, Paul.
We can't say that on
Looks like the Lasso family likes to do.
Man, yeah.
Osako, man. Get that thing out of there. That was disgusting, dog.
We're off the rails now, man.
Hey, you get some of the best preaching tips from wrestling promos. I'm telling you.
Is that true?
Whatever Joseph
yeah.
Please don't listen to them.
I think Jim Shaddix is rolling in his chair right now, just thinking, "What the heck is this guy saying?"
Oh man, classic moments. All right, so y'all took a few of mine. One moment. This isn't my best, but this is a moment. Adam ain't gonna like this one. In I think 2004, one of the greatest teams on paper of all time: Shaq, Kobe, Gary Payton, and Karl Malone. And I hated the Lakers. So my one of my worst moments was when the Sacramento Kings lost to the vaunted Lakers, and they were just dominant. It was like the Warriors. And man, they came in so cocky. You had the Kobe situation going on. You were starting to see it brewing, and the Lakers won game one. Kobe hit a late three, and I was like, there's no hope. And then, man, the Pistons had one of the all-time defensive performances. Crazy thing is, the Pistons should have been knocked out by the Nets. Jason Kidd hit a half-court shot, or somebody hit a half-court shot in overtime. They really should have been out in like the second round. And, man, I love that team. Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, they shook up the world with that series. I remember that was when Stephen A. was, like, just starting. And people lost their minds. Adam, do you recall how you felt when they lost to the Pistons there, the Lakers?
Yeah, it felt like, you were kind of dreaming because that team, even though Malone and Peyton were at the very back end of their careers, they had not shown, like, a tremendous drop-off at any point.
Yeah.
And because I think Malone had actually retired, but yeah, there's no reason. And I always think of that, like, if they hadn't lost, Kobe would have 6 rings.
Yep.
And then you also think about the Lakers when they played the Celtics in the finals, and they barely lost. No, they ended up losing that one because they had Andrew Bynum get hurt. Kobe could easily have 7 rings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
And, that was one of the first orchestrated big threes where GP comes over,
Right.
Karl Malone comes over. And that Detroit team was good. If you remember, this isn't like a flashy series, but the Pistons ended up playing the Spurs. Like 2 years later, Robert Horry came over, and it went 7. And neither of those teams are flashy, but, man, that was some close games. So that's just something that always sticks in my memory bank. Well, hey, let's shift gears because it's a unique time to be alive, year 2024. We sit here the day before the election, and, it's just an interesting time to be alive. And Adam shared a perspective. Adam, kind of talk us through your perspective of leadership and sometimes loneliness and just kind of the ripple effects of how, the election's happening tomorrow, but life's going to go on. The church is going to go on. You're seeing a lot of Christians circle back to this principle of, hey, at the end of the day, the Lord isn't surprised. The Lord stands above all presidents, nations, and we ultimately find hope in that. And so just kind of being aware as Christians of our conduct and being a people of hope after this, whichever the way things go. So just kind of take us down this thought.
Yeah, just in thinking about leadership, anyone who may be listening, you may be a leader in some different capacity than being a pastor or, of course, being a president, being the coach of a team. But if you've ever been a leader of anything that does something of consequence, you know that being a leader can be a very lonely thing, even though there's people that perhaps are surrounding you. So on the eve of election night, I'm thinking Donald Trump and I'm thinking Kamala Harris, though they are surrounded by people from the time they wake up, probably to the time they go to bed most evenings, they still inevitably feel lonely because they are carrying a burden, a weight. And someone must lead. And so you have that as an obvious thing. It's also a Monday and we're looking at, the Saints just fired their coach. He has lived in a lonely space as they've lost 7 straight games. And so the question then is, knowing that God may have called you to do something, to be someone, to manage something, to be a person who handles your responsibility, really in any sphere of life, if you're leading something or a group of people, how do you have the necessary strength to do that? And maybe for lack of better terms, the self-security, self-sufficiency, obviously we get strength from the Lord. We realize we can't do this by ourselves, but you still have to, at the end of the day, be able to say, I'm okay with leading this and facing whatever consequences may come. And so I think that's something that people must think through if they want to do anything that will ever matter. And so I want to glean from you guys and hear from you on how you think through that. Joe has done this for a lot longer than we have and in different kinds of spaces. But what do you guys think?
I think you tossed to you, Joe.
All right. Well, that's a tough one. Because leadership, the higher you rise in leadership, the more lonely you get. And, but I know for me, it is resting in the gifts that he's given me. I wrestled for a year before I surrendered into the ministry because the insecurities, and we all have insecurities. And so what I had to learn is a little bit about myself, how I am, how I handle pressure, um, to go to the Lord and believe in His calling that He had given me and the gifts that He had given me. And so it really is a process. And the cool thing about it is, at least for me, uh, the Lord didn't just dump me into high level leadership. It started with something smaller, and my faith built in Him. And as my faith built in Him, knowing He has entrusted me and has gifted me, that began to elevate my confidence in myself through Christ. And this is going to sound cliche, but it never should be. But that verse, Philippians 4:13, became more real in my life the higher I rose in leadership. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that is not just a statement or a verse. I mean, that is truth. And the more that we believe that we can do all things, but the lesson is through Christ. And so I try real hard not to get ahead of God, that it's His plan and His pace, no matter what I do. And so whenever I get too far and I get a little nervous, I take a step back and I just really begin to pray and allow God to lead me. And then the last thing I want to share is find out how you can rest mentally and emotionally. We all do it differently. And so that for me, I like to be outside, or I like just to watch sports. That's one of the reasons I like sports. It helps me just to relax. And as I'm watching sports, or you find how you can relax, I process. And so my mind actually never stops. But it's for me, I enjoy the planning and the preparation in the time of peace and rest rather than in times of pressure. And so I try to find those areas. I think for you and for the others, you like to go fishing. And so when I find my way of peace, that's when I do most prep in anything that I do, is in my peace, not in the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So quit busting my chops when I go fishing.
Hey, it's the most biblical form of discipleship.
There you go.
Paul,
Wow.
why don't you jump in here and then John can follow?
Yeah, no, I thought that, man, what Joe mentioned about rest is key. And just having an opportunity to be able to shut everything off, and allow yourself to say, hey, Lord, you're in control. I'm not superhuman. I can't do everything. I realize that I can't control everything, and it's a comfort to know that we do have a king. We have a kingdom that will never vanish, fade, be threatened. He's very good at growing his church. He's very good at supplying the needs of his church. And it's good to know that someone else that's greater, more significant than you, is in control. That helps. That helps when you don't have peace. That helps when you're stressed out. That helps when you're worried about what you need to do next. It's a huge comfort to have. Along with that, I feel like the pastoral epistles have become more and more of a comfort to me than theoretical, like it was in seminary, where you see the wisdom of what Paul shares with Timothy, and you just go back to the things that like, listen, if I had to go back and do the things that I know are important, significant, what the Lord will look and say, that's what I originally called you to do. That's what I wanted you to do. That's what I expected you to do. And to know that if I do those things, the Lord will smile and say, you've done well with what I've called you to do, I think really helps a lot. And it's a comfort for me, in a lot of ways, to be reminded of, like, okay, here's what I know is significant. And then when it comes to decision making, um, and knowing that there's things of consequence, like, man, I thought what Watermark Community Church put out when they did that series on should I do blank was incredibly helpful. And so running through the gamut of, like, I can thoughtfully, prayerfully, um, walk through a decision in order for me to be able to, with confidence, say, okay, I've prayed about this. I haven't rushed through this. I've counseled other people through this. Helps me to have the confidence to say, hey, I'm gonna move forward with this decision, or I'm gonna do whatever's whatever's heavy on my heart because I've actually put some thought behind it. The other thing that's like you're not going to find in an article, it's not going to necessarily be written explicitly there on the pages of the pastoral's epistles, but man, like having a close friend is a huge deal for me. I mean, that's a big deal to be able to enjoy, to take your hat off from time to time, to just have someone that you don't feel like you're going to be lonely all the time. This right here, conversations that I've had with Adam on regular occasions, and then having a friend not just from far away but close, like within the church, is key. Having those kinds of people that you can go to, talk to, vent to, and just be be a normal human being is a huge piece to that leadership. Because if not, man, um, I don't know how I could do it if I'm constantly thinking to myself, I have no one to turn to, I have no one to talk to, I have no one to express my frustrations to, and all the rest of that. Like that's a big deal. And listen, for some of us, it's our wives, and they're our best friends. And then other times, it's our wives plus other great guy friends that we have. So anyway, those are a few things that come to my mind as I verbally vomited on all of you guys. So yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking through that as well. I think a lot of leadership, whether inside the church, outside the church, business owners, people that are in levels of leadership within a business or even within the home, I think a lot of it comes to the way people relate to you and then how comfortable they feel relating to you. So, and for me, as a staff pastor for over a decade, people related to me with much more ease and clarity and approachability. And then when I became the lead pastor, although I didn't change in any particular manner or way, the approachability shifted and changed. I've had people say, "Well, I was going to call you, but I just assumed you were busy," or "Hey, I was going to stop you, but it looked like some other people need to talk to you," and different things like that. That I think is how people are relating to you as an individual, and they can never disconnect that leadership title or position from their relationship to you now, which is a little frustrating. But you can also appreciate that because all of us were under a pastor at some point in the as a
Hmm.
member before ministry, so we can understand. I didn't ever really chatted my pastor up or hung out with him or stuff like that, and so you can understand that. But I think what we can do as leaders is we have to be careful of what we're vocalizing out to people, so that if we keep meeting people that say, "Well, I just assume you're busy with all the stuff going on," are we articulating that we are incredibly busy and stressed and
Hmm.
overrun? Are we taking activity on the back end to invite people to stuff or to be a part of life without any kind of expectation of church talk or anything else like that? Do we have inroads with those that we work with, staff members? We're not just viewed as the boss or another person that hey, if they really got to know me, they'd be really unhappy with me. And so I think some of that is just reality. But at the end of the day, when you look across the words of Scripture, anyone who ascended to any kind of leadership within the Bible faced isolation. Paul writes about it. Everyone deserted me, right? Like, who would
Hmm.
desert Paul? Moses, obviously carrying this great burden of people. And you got Nehemiah doing a midnight ride on his own. I mean, there are aspects of isolation that I think some of that is just natural within the consequence of leadership. Some
Yeah.
of it is developed and cultivated so that we will draw close to the Lord, realizing that in this season or circumstance, there's no one else that could really fulfill or satisfy or create clarity or peace in this. And so I think you see evidences of that when Moses would commune with the Lord. Often throughout Scripture, you have Paul that's jammed up in prison and isolation, not only from his friends, but from many other people. And how does he commune with the Lord and take that time? And historically, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, many other people that you see in isolated situations. So, and part of it is just the nature of leadership. But I think we can do things to um, greatly exacerbate that problem if we're not careful with our words and our relationships and how we approach people. And there's things that we can do to alleviate that problem by letting people in, letting people ask transparent questions. When people say, "How are you doing?" Not giving them a canned answer at times, but truly trying to communicate what's going on in our lives. So I think there's a lot of different pieces, but I think a big part is how people relate to you. and it's hard to disconnect the person from the title. It's ingrained in our society. What do you want to be when you grow up? Not what you want to do. What do you want to work at? What do you want to be? Right. And so we're conditioned to see our work and our job and our title as who we are at times.
It's good. I think a lot of times too, you hear the, leadership's lonely at the top, and there's different stages where that's fleshed out. I think you're right, John. I think pastors sometimes, or principals, or any other leadership position, I think you have to be intentional about, we talked about this earlier, humanizing yourself. So little things like, we live in a community area where y'all might be more commuter, but little things like going to a local high school football game and them seeing you outside of the pulpit or outside, just you being yourself. I think those things are important. Whether it be my pastor, he shares his hobbies. He gets guys to go play pickleball with him, or, I've really tried to incorporate fishing where people can be around me outside of church. And then I have to really be intentional to not talk about church when I'm with them. Also, I think pastors too we can preach about community and then not do it ourselves. Some pastors they can't be a part of a group that they're not leading. I think that's very healthy. I sat through a group yesterday that I didn't say a word, I didn't lead it, and I was able to be fed myself. Community for pastors and their wives, I think that's something we have to intentionally seek out. And so that's why you see a lot of people talking about hiding. Ministry is a good place to hide if you want to hide and just kind of be isolated. And I think we all agree that once the isolation sets in, that's when the enemy can really creep in, because you don't have anybody close enough to you to, speak life into you or to call you out when need be, or regardless. So anyway, hey, good conversation, Paul. We'll come back to yours another week. But at the end of the day, find community, be intentional with your time, your congregation, your leadership, wherever you are. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in 2 weeks.